Good evening and welcome to our special presentations. Today is October 3rd, 2023. We do have two special presentations on our agenda, and the first one will be presented by Councilmember Bernard for Fire Prevention Week.
Good evening and a warm welcome to each of you. Thank you for being here tonight. It is my pleasure to present our first presentation recognizing the week of October 8th as Fire Prevention Week. Accepting this proclamation is Fire Marshal Doug Bloom and his team, Fire Prevention Squad. Can you guys please come forward? Fire Prevention Week is an annual occurrence wherein the City Council and fire partner with the National Fire Protection Association to raise awareness of the importance of preventing fires and knowing what to do in the event of a fire. The theme for this year's Fire Prevention Week is Cooking Safety Starts With You, Paying Attention to Fire Prevention. Cooking fires are the #1 cause of home fires. By remaining vigilant, you can greatly reduce injury and death. In alliance with the Moreno Valley Fire Department, with the common goal of keeping our residents safe, on behalf of the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, I hereby issue the following proclamation. Whereas the City of Moreno Valley is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city, and whereas the leading cause of fires in the kitchen is unattended cooking, and the City of Moreno Valley to reduce the impact and occurrence of kitchen fires, and whereas the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, Cooking Safety Starts With You, Pay Attention to Fire Prevention, effectively reminds us to stay alert and use caution when cooking. Whereas City of Moreno Valley residents can take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, on behalf of its citizens and staff, hereby proclaim October 8th through the 14th of 2023 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this community. In efforts to support California's fire and emergency services, residents of Moreno Valley are urged to check their kitchens for fire hazards and utilize safe cooking practices. Here tonight to accept this proclamation is Moreno Valley's Fire Marshal, Doug Bloom. Can you say a few words for us, sir?
Thank you. I'd like to thank Council and the Mayor for bringing attention to Fire Prevention Week and the proclamation. We know that by partnering with the residents and businesses of the city, we can increase fire safety where we live and work here in Moreno Valley. So we'd just like to say thank you. And we also want to put out there that if you'd like more information on fire safety, visit nfpa.org, moval.org under Fire Prevention page, and also under the SAFER program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Level, so you can make sure to see everyone. So again, you choose just this way, just a little bit. Perfect. There we go. Perfect. Toward the end, if I this way just a little bit, because he's blocking your face. There we go. All right. And we'll go in 3, 2, 1. And one more for 60. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty. Can we give our fire department one more round of applause, please? Fire prevention, Doug Bloom, and everyone there on your team, thank you so much for everything that you are doing. And we do have a second presentation. I'm going to go ahead and move down here to the mic in front to present that second presentation. Well, good afternoon once again, everyone, or I should say good evening. Tonight, our second and final presentation is to recognize Moreno Valley's diversity through Hispanic Heritage Month. National Hispanic Heritage Month reminds all of us that the American identity is a fabric of diverse traditions and stories woven together. Every year, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. Hispanic Heritage Month acts to give the community we call home a chance to stop and reflect on the cultural and historical impact that all of these cultures have had on us, resulting in what we call today America, or the United States, right? And I think it's very important that we do. There's various holidays throughout the year, but this one in particular definitely hits home with me, and I know with a lot of our residents and folks here at City Hall. As you may know, the city of Moreno Valley is a city of over 200,000 residents, the 21st largest city in the state of California as of the 2020 census. 60% of that 213,000 population is Latino. Vast majority of that actually comes from Mexico. And so this is definitely important because this is one of the many holidays that we can have an opportunity to look back at all of our collective history, and again, that diversity that makes us who we are today as a country. We were going to present this to a local organization who could not make it this evening. So at this time, if I could call my colleagues, if you don't mind joining me here at the microphone so we can read the proclamation, and then we could take a group picture as well. Alrighty, and as you can see, we have the proclamation right here with Mayor Pro Tem, and it reads, whereas the city of Moreno Valley is proud to join in the national celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, observed annually during September 15th through October 15th, and whereas being implemented in 1968 via President Lyndon Johnson, Hispanic Heritage Month begins on September 15th in honor of the Cry of Dolores, or El Grito, signifying the start of Mexico's War of Independence and the Spanish colonial empire in 1821. And whereas we honor the generations of Latinos who have given so much to this city, state, and nation, with over 40 million who live right here in California and the city of Moreno Valley, proudly having its population be 60% Latino. Whereas Latinos continue to find success in many areas, including business, medicine, education, law, public service, science, technology, the arts, sports, and so much more. Whereas during this 30-day-long observance, our Hispanic communities will hold cultural and educational events that enhance our cultural perspectives. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Moreno Valley, on behalf of our residents and staff, hereby designate September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you, and we could give a big round of applause for Hispanic Heritage Month. And with that, we'll take a group picture here.
Let's get that in the middle, actually, just for framing. All right, ready? And 1, 2, 3. Oh, goodness. And 1, 2, 3. And one more for safety. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Thank you to my colleagues, and thank you for everyone who is watching at home and for everyone that's here with us this evening. That will conclude our special presentations for today, and we'll be back in about 17 minutes for our regular council meeting. Thank you.
4, 3.
Good evening and welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Moreno Valley Community Services District, City as successor agency for the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Moreno Valley Housing Authority, Moreno Valley Public Financing Authority, and the Board of Library Trustees. The City Council receives a separate stipend for CSD meetings. I now call this meeting to order on October 3rd, 2023 at 6:01 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by, would anyone like Mayor Pro Tem? Okay. Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, and please remain standing for the invocation given by Pastor Israel Carlos of Apostolic Assembly.
Please place your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Pastor Carlos.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Cabrera, Mayor Pro Tem Delgado, and respected members of the City Council. As the Mayor mentioned, my name is Israel Carlos, privileged to be the senior pastor for the last 24 years of Fountain of Life Apostolic Church here in Moreno Valley. We are a church of 375 members, a lot of families with many high school and college youths. I'm honored to be given the opportunity to lead the invocation for this meeting. Thank you. Here thence, I invite you all to bow your heads in respect with humbleness to God Almighty. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, according to your holy word, which declares, I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings, and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Savior, who wants all people to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. Therefore, God Almighty, I pray as I invoke and glorify your holy name. I pray for this body of city officials, leaders who have been ordained by you and given authority over the earthly matters of this great city of Moreno Valley. I pray that you may continue to bless them with life and health. I pray that you bless their families. I pray, God, that you may give them wisdom always to lead the matters of the city. I pray that you may lead and that they may use their authority given to them to do that which is good in your sight for the blessing of this community. I pray that they may exercise their privilege to serve and exercise with truth and righteousness according to your holy will. I also pray for the city manager, his staff, and everyone that works in administration of the city. Bless them and guide them. I pray for law enforcement of the city, that you may protect them, for they are your servants and peace officers, that they may exercise their authority with justice to resist and submit evil and bring peace and protection to the citizens of this city. Lord, bless the citizens of Moreno Valley. Protect our schools, prosper our businesses. Finally, I pray for our military troops and those that are in charge of the safety of this great country. Bless them and their families. I pray for those that must go into harm's way to protect us. Protect them and keep them safe. I pray all of this in your glorious name, Jesus Christ, the name that is above all names. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Carlos from Apostolic Assembly. I appreciate it. Madam Clerk, I'll turn to you now for a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
Here.
Councilmember Marcus.
Here.
Councilmember Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Here, ma'am.
And Mayor Cabrera.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Staff introductions, please.
Jane Halstead, City Clerk.
Patty Rodriguez, Senior Deputy City Clerk.
Steve Quintanilla, City Attorney.
Mike Lee, City Manager.
Brian Mohan, Assistant City Manager, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer.
Michael Lloyd, Assistant City Manager, Development.
Sean Kelleher, Community Development Director. Melissa Walker, Director of Public Works.
Jeremy Bubnick, Director of Parks and Community Services.
Lieutenant Tyson Voss of the Sheriff's Department.
And Jesse Park, Fire Chief.
Thank you very much, staff. As always, a pleasure to be here with you. A reminder that the city is currently offering Spanish translation services. If anyone is interested in this feature, la ciudad actualmente ofrece servicios de traducción al español. Si alguien está interesado, por favor nos avisan. Before we hear public comments this evening, I ask and encourage everyone participating to keep their comments respectful toward others, especially toward the individuals that are speaking. I embrace and support the First Amendment right to free speech, including everyone's right to speak at this meeting and to share their views about issues concerning our city. But we can be more productive by being civil and respectful toward one another in this meeting. Finally, I ask that speakers bear in mind that comments will be limited for each speaker, and I encourage everyone to refrain from duplicating comments that are already made by others, other than to note that you agree or disagree with the prior comments. In order to preserve the meeting decorum, council and staff will not respond during public comments. Any council comments or questions to staff may be addressed during the council closing comments. This brings us now to public comments on matters that are not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
Yes, we have 4 requests to speak.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll go ahead and allocate 3 minutes per speaker, and Madam Clerk will call up our first 3 speakers.
Okay, the first 3 speakers are Seth Cox, followed by David Sides and Bob Palomares.
Good evening, council members, staff. I'm Seth Cox, out in District 3, come up here occasionally. My subject tonight is an address at, I'll bring it to you, it is 24481 Alessandro Boulevard on the corner of Indian and Alessandro. It has 2 new signs on a building there for Shango Cannabis Dispensary, okay? I can't find anywhere on your site where it was ever approved, for one thing. And I would like to point out something that maybe was missed or got special dispensation. 9.09290 of your commercial cannabis activities rules, regulations in your code says, no person shall cause or permit the sale, dispensing, or consumption of alcoholic beverages or the sale of tobacco products on or within 50 feet of the premise of a cannabis business. 24481 is a joint building with 24491, which is ABC Liquor. They sell both alcohol, they sell tobacco. They have to be within 50 feet of each other since the 2 units join each other. So how did it get through planning? How did it get through council? Okay, that's my first concern. The other concern is you already have 3 cannabis businesses right across the street in the other shopping center. You have Angel Organics, does have a license. You have Sipkoi, a big one that's been there for quite a while. And you have a conditional use permit for Empire to move in the old Stater Brothers building there. That seems a bit overkill. Granted, you're supposed to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I guess you got to keep all your competitors closer to see who's buying stuff. I don't know the rationale on why you cluster all these cannabis business together. Again, I'm in District 3. It's in my district. I don't like it to begin with. Not that I'm anti-cannabis, but I don't like the decisions that are being made where they're being placed. I'll also point out, you guys have the council has 6 strategic priorities. Economic development, we all know that. Public safety, library, infrastructure, beautification, community engagement, and quality of life, and youth programs. The only thing I can figure out that any one of those cannabis things supports is economic development. So the other 5 just go by the wayside in those areas because you're collecting revenue, and yeah, you may go back to some of those programs, but I believe, if I read the rules right, you only get approximately $80,000 a year revenue for each one of those cannabis.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next three speakers are David Zeitz, Roy Bleckard, and Bob Palomares.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am not up here as a commissioner or anything to do with the city. I'd just like to ask the council or the city to help out with pet adoptions. We have a very nice facility here in town. I was wondering if we could highlight the pet of the week during your meetings. Bring it in, get a little airtime. Maybe we can get some of these animals going. I talked to the shelter today. Their excuse me, their concern was it's after their hours, so they would have to get a volunteer to do it. Well, if they can't get the volunteer, I know of, or we can find plenty of people that do this independently that are licensed and have all the proper paperwork, and they would probably be more than happy to bring in an animal to show. I'm not all about it's got to be Moreno Valley. I'm all about we need to get the animals adopted out, wherever they may come from. But that's just a proposal I want to put up in front of you. Maybe we can have a pet of, they have a pet of the week. Maybe they can bring it down here, show it off in front of the camera, give them a couple of minutes, let them tell about it, and go on our way. Let's use our airtime for something good. I know we're doing a lot of good anyway, but something nice. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Roy Bleckard, Bob Palomares, and Pete Bleckard.
We'll submit to you the motion to vacate started 2 weeks ago in Moreno Valley. You might be wondering why I'm wearing the Stand Up Riverside t-shirt. We the people, are starting to organize, not only in Riverside County, but clear across this country, as you heard maybe some of the cannon fodder that went off today. It's because we the people have been ignored for far too long. We see what's happening not only in our area, but all across our country. We see it in our council today. I have to make a mad dash to get to Valverde just to make some comments about a very important issue in our community. You got a board president over there at Valverde who's got arrested the second time on DUI. We've dealt with this in Riverside. It's about time we start cracking down on crime. And it's about time we start cracking down on politicians that do illegal stuff right here, and especially in this city. We all know who's been doing it. We all know who denies it. And we know who tries to cover it up and scrub it when they make big declarations. They won't man up and get in the arena and debate it. No, they run and hide and call names. Say, I'm better than you. Go watch the videotapes of these very meetings and what's been said from that dais. So again, keep disrespecting the people. Keep disrespecting all of the citizens who work hard every day, who are mostly struggling. You know, most people don't even have $500 in their bank account right now. Just had a report down at the county about suicides and how it's been affecting in communities and which communities it's been affecting the most. Yet you got ones running around here trying to run that they're up on this or trying to run cons on this and dispute it. Run the evidence or put the people on here under oath and let's get to the bottom of it, because it's happened right here. June 20th, I called it a con. Nobody stood up. And then you ran us through the ringer again. And you wonder why people are a little bit upset. You wonder why they're organizing. Well, just keep it up one way or the other. You're either for us or you're against us. Your choice.
The next three speakers are Bob Palomares, Pete Bleckard, and Luis Palomares.
Good evening, Council, Chief, Police and Fire, and our city staff that do a great job I look at our city manager and I look at the goodness of the city and everything that's gone on good, and it reflects the management and all the staff, and it's great. I like that. I wanted to talk about the bad mouthing by Corey Jackson asking the Attorney General to investigate the Riverside Sheriff's Department. I think he should look in the mirror and ask himself, and do that to SBX, and I'm going to call them Deflection Point because they were in the paperwork. You know, Corey Jackson's pissed off now. He's showing his vindictiveness. And of course, I know he has the mayor's blessing because he was a big campaign contributor to him, 40,000. And, you know, we don't need this no more in this city. Roy's right, everything he said. You know, we need to clean it up. And the only ones, you know, sometimes we get what we voted for. And it's not always good. And it reflects, it shows. And, you know, the SBX and Corey Jackson, you know, he's never mentioned, or let me go to this first. When they had the, was it July 9th, the Sunday special meeting for 2 council members wanted to bring up and clarify some about the $10 million grant. Well, you know, Cabrera and it had everybody come down here on a Sunday. And, you know, hey, they want to get rid of it. And he never told the people that they never qualified to begin with. They had no matching funds. They didn't have the $62,000, but yet he was running the game because he's in Corey Jackson's pocket. And all of you's up there, all you had to do is drive on Paris Boulevard, and you would have looked at the county had given them the money. I think it was 2022. And then I think 23, just a few months back, it should have been 90% completed and nothing had been done. And all they could say was, the city is holding us up, which we know is a lie. But the thing is, you drag all these people, Mayor, you're the one that did it. You were leading the charge. You know, on so, you know, you should be able to take some of that responsibility, you know. Yeah, it's time. Get your watch. Time's going by. Thank you.
The next 2 speakers are Pete Bleckert, followed by Luis Palomares.
We're going to talk about the second part of the hate the mayors that hated each other. But first I'd like to say the mayor showed his hate that he wasn't going to let the mayor pro tem run the meeting. And he was, because he don't vote with you. That's my opinion. So you had to run the meeting. Mayor pro tem, if they don't vote for you, are never going to run the meeting. Be honest about it. But we'll talk about the first 2 mayors that got started. They started way back when the city got incorporated, before they had a meeting. They all met at Bob's Big Boy. I was there. And they all got in the back room with the developers and everybody. And the number 1 man didn't want the mayorship. So it got to be arguing between the Snake Lady and Snidely Whiplash. And I watched it go on for a while. And they come, and the Snake Lady come out of there. She was hot because she didn't get to be mayor. Snidely made the show. And she made damn sure we were going to straighten it out. So she, along with George Haig and them tree-hugging people that hate this city, called out for a recall, and they won. Recalled 3 of them. Well, one of them got back in, 2 new ones came in, and the Snake Lady thought she could run the whole show, but it wasn't working out her way. So Ray Tanner, which was 5th grade teacher when I was going to school, and Judy, they hated each other. You should see the stories I could tell you about them too. And she just raised hell with me because he put me on the planning commission. And it was a hell, the year, almost 2 years I was there. And she got Ray Tanner out and got her, thought was her another little lady, Cynthia Carruthers. Well, they got to hating each other and all that. And it went on, and they wouldn't let her be mayor because Judy was running the show. But finally, she got to be mayor. Judy ran for being the senior center over there. That was her little bag, and she promoted it. But just happened to be Cynthia Carruthers was mayor. I go over there and smile all the time because I look up there and the big name is Cynthia Carruthers. And because Judy had to have something, a little burp about Judy Nieberger and all what went on. Well, she thought she was so bad and she could be running because she ran, all her district was out there, all the rich people out there in the East End. And a no name, first time guy moves in here, Greg Leffler, go over and see his name on the brass tag over there by the elevator, and came in here with a saying, any burger but Nieberger. And he won. Can you believe that? He won. He was a nobody because she had PO'd enough damn people in here that even her rich people don't want her voted against her. So that goes to show you, you can keep your ass going all the time thinking you're a smart ass, but it ain't going nowhere. It could happen to you. So you can sit there and act like you don't want to know about it. Well, hey, you're only one vote in there, and you're one vote to get the hell out of there. So it's the winning vote, kind of like when I was racing cars. I missed it by one lap. But you can do what you want.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blecker. Thank you.
The final speaker is Luis Palomares.
Wow. Luis Palomares, community activist here. Wow. Everything Pete says is factual. Everything Roy said is factual. What Bob said is factual. We got a liar for a mayor. We got a liar for a mayor. He's got us in the swamp. He's so corrupt. He's so corrupt. He brought the Sunday special. All these people, they don't even live here. That all were the, part of the Corey Jackson bandwagon here. They live everywhere else, Menifee, Rialto, but they want $10 million. They wanted our city to put a grant, apply for a grant for $10 million. And if that didn't happen, wow, if it didn't work out, we were gonna, what is I'm gonna say? I'm lost my thinking here. We were gonna put the bill for all that down the road. We would have been, it's so sad but true. Also, freedom of speech, our honorable mayor, what honor is there in you? When you have a citizen of Moreno Valley that you have a citizen's arrest because the police didn't think it was nothing to go further with, but they were assault or something about they said something to you or something like that. So you got scared. I need a restraining order. I'm afraid. I fear for my life. Are you serious? Afraid then you don't belong in that seat. You need to have thick skin, or what Marcus says, thick blood. That's what you need to have. But people can't even approach you or say anything to you because, I'm afraid for my life. So the police said, it's not enough, to do an arrest here. But you insisted, I want to do a citizen's arrest. Now you're going to court for this. Restraining order, phony baloney restraining. It's true. It's true. You're going to court for this. You have the poor Thomases in court. They're paying for lawyers. You got the city's pockets. You got our tax dollars to defend your phony baloney restraining order lawsuit. Shame on you. When they're pulling out of their college fund for their daughter, and they have their other student going to Riverside to go to school, their little one, because you're so hooked up with also the school district. You're all in the same swamp together. Shame on you. And it's all true. It's all true. So, don't act like you don't know. Oh, wow, what's she talking about? Corey Jackson's giving you so much money for your campaign. You're the swamp. You're corrupt. You're crooked. You're on a 24-hour campaign. You haven't stopped for 4 years. All you do is campaign all the time to all these businesses. Everybody, campaign. Why don't you get busy and work and bring us some revenue and some dollars here? Get off the campaign trail. Quit going to the churches and saying what a great guy you are. When you went to that Catholic church, you knew they were going to build that building there. You went and brainwashed them and said, oh, no, it's not going to come. It was already a done deal. You said, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Oh, we're not going to have it here. But they came here because you bullcrapped them, saying, I could do something about it. Because you wanted their vote, that whole church. Well, they found out what you were about. And then you were...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have any more requests to speak?
We have no more requests to speak on items not on the agenda, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we will go ahead and proceed now to public comments that are regarding matters on our agenda this evening. If anyone wishes to speak on any items that are on the consent calendar, you will have a total of 3 minutes to comment on all items that are on the consent calendar. If you wish to comment on any other items on the agenda other than the public hearing calendar, you will have a total of 3 minutes to comment on each item at the time that item is called up for consideration. But if we have a large number of speakers on a particular item, it may be necessary to reduce the amount of time per speaker to allow the council to conduct its business this evening. Again, a reminder that if anyone would wish to speak this evening, we do have goldenrod speaker slips. It's actually those blue pieces of paper right there by the door. Just fill one of those out and make sure to get that to our staff, and we'll make sure to call on you when that item is called up for business. So at this time, we were going to go ahead and move to our joint consent calendar, sections A through E on the agenda. All items listed under the consent calendar, sections A, B, C, D, and E, are considered to be routine in nature and non-controversial, and may be enacted by one motion unless a member of the City Council or any affiliated agency requests that an item be removed for separate action. The motion to adopt the consent calendars is deemed to be a separate motion by each agency and shall be so recorded by the city clerk. Items withdrawn for report or discussion will be heard after the public hearing items. At this time, I'll turn to my colleagues here on the council to see if there are any requests to move any items from the consent calendar for separate action. All right. I see none at this time, so that brings us to questions of staff on consent calendar items. Are there any questions for staff at this time? Okay. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on any consent calendar items?
We have no request to speak, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we will go ahead and close the public comment portion for the consent calendar. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve staff's recommendations.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Alrighty, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, if we could please call for a vote. And that passes unanimously with 5 yeses. So that approves the full consent calendar. And at this time, we will move now to the next section on our agenda, which is Section F, which is public hearings. And we have a couple of items, actually 2 items under F. We'll go ahead and take the first one, which is accept the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Home American Rescue Plan, revised proposed allocation plan, and we have a report from the City Manager's Office.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, MPT, council members. This item might sound familiar to you as it was before you on March 3rd of this particular year. In that particular meeting, you actually did accept the U.S. Treasury direct allocation of the ARPA funds in the amount of $2.427 million. Based on that particular allocation plan that was approved that night, we did forward it over to Housing and Urban Development, which is the federal department, and they asked us to revise the plan, specifically removing homeless outreach from that particular plan. And if you recall, this plan was developed based on community engagement, various surveys and so forth. Staff and I tried to put a homeless engagement component in there. Unfortunately, the data and requested surveys didn't show that our residents need homeless outreach. What they really want is housing. And so in working with various representatives from HUD, we've retooled the plan to just concentrate on the housing element. And so the plan before you is, in essence, an allocation plan that will, I think, meet HUD requirements based on conversations with the representatives. But this has been actually the most difficult funding to deal with in my 23 years of municipal finance. And so I am hopeful, but still cautious in getting the approval. But this plan before you will, in essence, go to affordable housing units within the city. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate that report. And at this time, we will go ahead and open it up to any council questions of staff. And first up, we have Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, since they rejected our first one, are they reducing that amount that we approved back in March?
No, it's the exact same amount.
Same amount. And affordable housing, so this could go towards the projects for Jim Jernigan projects in the city?
Potentially.
Okay, if we have to use it, we can. I just want to make that.
Yes, it would be two separate actions, though. So the action before you tonight is to approve the allocation plan that we can then take to HUD and get that approved by HUD. Once approved by HUD, then we have to find a viable affordable housing project.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next up is Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Actually, that was going to be my question, is what do we have on the back burner for the funding? So thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. And just one last question for you, Brian. In the agenda, in the staff report, there's a table, a long table, that breaks down the allocation for various jurisdictions. Is that based on population, or how does the federal government calculate how much each jurisdiction is going to receive in dollars?
Typically, population is one of them. The other could be the jurisdictions that are entitlement as opposed to those jurisdictions that are not entitlement. And as this is not entitlement money, they might have allocated more to non-entitled jurisdictions before allocation. I am not familiar specifically with how this particular allocation went, but I would say typically in my experience, it's population and whether or not they've already been receiving funds.
Thank you very much, Brian. So before we move on to the public comment portion, are there any further questions from the council? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, I'll turn back to you. Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
There are no requests to speak on this item, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll close the public testimony for this item. And at this time, I entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations, unless there's deliberation. Excuse me, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Is there any deliberation, any comments from the council? All right, so I'll entertain a motion by the council to approve staff's recommendations, number 1 and 2.
I move that we approve 1 and 2.
I'll second.
There is a motion and a second to approve. Please vote. And that passes unanimously with 5 yeses. Which brings us next to item F2, our second public hearing item, which is a public hearing, a second reading, and adoption of county ordinances numbers 523 and 640 regarding control of vectors and establishing environmental health service fees and penalties. And we have a report from Community Development.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. The item before you this evening is to conduct that second reading of Ordinance 1000 and also to provide an opportunity for public comments if there are any. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate that. So with that, we will now open it up to any council questions of staff, if desired. Seeing none. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We have no request to speak on this item, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will go ahead and move now to any deliberation, if desired, from the council. All right, and seeing none, I entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations, numbers, there might be a typo on my agenda, but I believe that's numbers 1 and 2. I'm looking for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second made. Please vote. And that passes unanimously as well with 5 yeses. Moving pretty quickly this evening, but I'm gonna knock on wood. I heard a few moans, my apologies. So we'll move now to H, which is general business. We'll take up H1 first, and then we'll do H2 after that. So H1 is ordinance adding chapter 2.66, electronic filing of campaign disclosure statements relating to electronic filing of Fair Political Practices Commission statements. And we have a report from our city clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's item is ordinance adding chapter is 2.66, electronic filing of campaign disclosure statements. So what are campaign disclosure forms? Campaign disclosure forms are required if you run for elective office, such as city council. The forms are submitted to the city clerk's office during the scheduled filing periods, which include the Form 400 series and other documents that must be filed pursuant to the Political Reform Act. And that includes the 410s, 497s, 496. There's a slew of them, I think I said 497. And also the 501. The current practice for the city of Moreno Valley. What is the current practice? Elected and appointed officials, candidates, or campaign committees file their forms in paper format. That is the current process. State law, however, requires all campaign reports and statements filed in paper format with the city clerk's office are required to be made available online on the city's website. These forms are posted within 72 hours of the filing deadline. Did I go too far? So, agency may require electronically filed statements. Per Government Code Section 84615, part of the Political Reform Act, authorize the city to require elected and appointed officials, candidates, and/or campaign committees to file FPPC campaign form statements, reports, or other documents, or electronically with the city clerk. What are the requirements? In order for this to happen, the city of Moreno Valley, to accept these electronically filed documents, the city must adopt an ordinance approving the use of an online electronic filing system, which must include the findings that the online system will operate securely and effectively, will not unduly burden the filers. The proposed ordinance would require electronic filing of campaign disclosure statements with the city, which would streamline the campaign filing process. NetFile to provide services if the council approves the ordinance. Yes, the city has identified NetFile to facilitate the electronic filing system. The vendor will provide a free public portal. Vendor will also provide a web-based program. Vendor will administer the electronic filing system. NetFile is known as having the industry's best practice for securing data, and this is comparable to banks, so it's very secure. NetFile was established in 1998 and was the first company to file a campaign disclosure statement in 2000 with the California State Secretary of State. Today, NetFile accounts for half of all e-filings of political disclosure documents and lobbyist statements in the state of California. In 2006, NetFile launched and enabled agencies to set up their own e-filing and administer systems for statement of economic interest, and that's your 700 form. Some of the advantages. NetFile will promote transparency, efficiency, convenience for officials and candidates. 24-hour viewing and accessibility of campaign information, cost savings, unlimited support and training to users, ability to file expanded statements for outside agencies. So this would really be a nice feature because you could go in essentially and file your Form 700 and just select, for instance, one council member might be on the RTA or the RCA, and they could select those agencies. So it would do it all at once. This also includes ethics and sexual harassment training tracking. So we'll have that available. So the recommended action is that the City Council introduce by title only and waive further reading of an ordinance adding chapters 2.66 electronic filing of campaign disclosure statement to the Moreno Valley Municipal Code. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for that report. At this time, do any council members have any questions for staff on this item? And first up, we have Councilmember Santa Cruz.
Hi, Jane. Thank you for putting this together. So am I correct that if we adopt this, that when we post our campaign disclosures, the public won't have to do any more PRAs, that they'll just be publicly available and
Yes.
filed in that day?
Yes,
And we'll be able to file electronically? We won't have to bring down wet signatures anymore?
correct. And then it'll redact all your information. And the beauty of this system is a lot of times you might say not put in the correct information, it'll stop you. It'll stop, and so you'll have to put the correct information. So it's very innovative.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a clarification, to redact certain information that's deemed to be confidential, like bank accounts.
Thank you. And do we have any other questions from the council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Sorry about that delay. Jane, any other cities around us that are using this?
Yes. In fact, let me go. Wow, I can't go back. All of your agencies that I listed up there.
ECR,
Yes, yes.
and all.
And they've got multitude of cities around here.
Okay.
That are doing that file.
And no major issues?
No, in fact, I had staff calling the agencies that we deal with, and they said they love it.
Okay, thank you.
Jane, would this be all of them, like the 410, the 460s, and the 700s?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right. Unless there's any further questions from the council, we'll go ahead and move on to public comment on this item. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
We have one request to speak, Luis Palomares.
Luis Palomares, community activist. Okay, does it count 200 pages of Nope, okay, I just want to know. Okay, now, as far as that, it's a good thing, but see, Cabrera can't even get it right on paper. I don't know how he's going to do, or even Marcus can't get it right on paper, because Cabrera had a FPPC, so, I mean, if he can't get it right on paper, how's he going to do it electronically? He's going to have maybe somebody doing it for him. I don't know, because it's a lot harder to do it that way, I think. Well, they say easier, but yeah, there's a lot of questions about that. But it's a good thing if you know what you're doing. Okay, as far as good luck, good luck, Cabrera, because let's see if you're going to get that right. Let's see if you're going to get that right. If you're going to report all your doings and all your campaign, donations, and along with Marcus here, your sidekick. It's a shame that, we got you here for, I better just leave it at that because maybe I'm going somewhere else with this. But on another note, I want to say a shout out to my grandson. He's 16 years old today. It's his birthday. I'm not going to say names, but, I just want to throw a shout out there. Thank you.
That concludes public comments, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll open up the deliberation now for the council. Would any council members like to make any comments at this time? All right, we have Councilmember Bernard.
Again, Ms. Jane, thank you for putting this report together. I am actually glad we are moving to NetFile electronically. It removes staff from having to make sure that that they're going out, that things are getting uploaded on time, and it actually puts the responsibility back on us as well as anyone else that's running for office. And so I think anything that makes your job easier with all of the other things that our city staff has going on. I appreciate this. And this is something that the County of Riverside uses to keep all of their paperwork in order. And a lot of other cities use it. Even the Secretary is using it, the Secretary of State, they use it too. So I'm very confident in this, and it will cut down on, as Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz said, a lot of the PRA requests that we're getting that you guys are being bogged down with trying to provide, because it's accessible 24 hours a day. And so sometimes, technology isn't bad, it's a good thing.
Thank you, Councilmember. Would any other council members like to make any comments at this time? All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations. Number 1.
I move.
I'll second.
A motion and a second made. Please vote. And that also passes unanimously with 5 yeses. And that brings us now to item H2 on our agenda, which is a discussion to explore options on the creation of the 3rd satellite library. And we'll have a report from the city manager's office.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. If you recall back on the August 15th meeting, there was a motion and a second by council to bring this topic back to a future date. And so that is why we are here today. As we explore the options for a 3rd satellite library, I went through and did some research, and we'll go through that now. In our current services, we have 3 locations: our main library on Alessandro, as well as the satellite Moreno Valley Mall branch and the satellite Iris Plaza branch. Obviously, you can see that they're in District 3, 1, and 4, and they opened up in 1998, 2018, and 2020, respectively. If you recall, when we went over the Moreno Valley Momentum Oval Strategic Plan on March 7th, 2023, we were seeking, staff's recommendation was seeking council's approval to continue the 6 strategic priorities, and I believe even Mr. Seth Cox mentioned them verbatim tonight. One of those items being a priority for the library. And that particular plan was approved by council to continue in its entirety, and directed staff to utilize that within the current budget cycle that we're in now. But it is built around the 6 top priorities. And when this originally was done, it was completed through community engagement and input, toward which collective efforts will be focused in continuing it. The library is obviously one of the 6, and it's to deliver library services that empower our residents through open access to knowledge, employing both traditional and contemporary methods at a level that is appropriate for a diverse community of over 2,000 citizens. We even went a step further as going into the budget and made it a central objective in expanding library services over the last 3 budget cycles. Budget cycle is a biennial year, so every 2 years. The budget accomplishments this particular year is to try and pursue design phase of the main library renovations for ADA improvements, increase the broadband connection of better service customers and the Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi gardens, mobile hotspots, and just provide access to emerging technologies such as the maker's space and so forth. Looking at the last 2 satellite offices, when we look at costs for a particular site, there's two costs, startup costs and operational costs. And so the startup costs could include design, permits, tenant improvements, et cetera. And when we look back at the last two satellite offices, it could be anywhere between $1 million to $2.5 million. And all of this is funded by the developmental impact fee for library. The biggest thing is it's tenant improvements. So if the location that is determined and found doesn't require too many tenant improvements, it reduces the cost. If they're deemed to be additional improvements that we need, it's going to be more cost. When you look at the operational cost, you really only have two. It's the lease for the facility, for any satellite facility, along with the increased service levels with our consultant LS&S. And so those can range anywhere between $25,000 to $200,000, $350,000 to $500,000, respectively. And those are funded through the Library Services Fund 5010, in which property taxes received for those library services. And this is, again, all based on prior satellite offices. The recommendation before you tonight is, because there's quite a bit of unknowns, is authorizing me to locate a suitable third satellite library site, negotiate and execute a lease agreement, including any tenant improvements that may be needed for a suitable site before occupancy, and revise the current contract with Library Systems and Services, or LS&S, who is our program consultant, to include the additional programming for the new satellite library and any other items deemed necessary to get the new satellite library operational. These things in their entirety is recommended tonight, but in breaking down each of these items, negotiation of a lease agreement would be done in closed session. We negotiate real property lease agreements all the time, as well as, depending on the cost of the tenant improvements, would need to be coming back in a future budget adjustment in a quarterly adjustment through council. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate that presentation. And at this time, are there any questions from the council for staff? Okay, I see one hand raised by Councilmember Santa Cruz.
Hi, do we have any numbers of how many patrons come into the existing satellites that are existing now in D4 and D1?
We do. They are utilized. They're utilized by the functions, not necessarily the actual location. So it's in its totality. LS&S compiles library service statistics by a multitude of metrics, but it's for the entire library system, not necessarily broken down by any one location.
We don't know how many people walk into the mall satellite location or the main library on Alessandro. We don't know if it's like 90% of the people are going to the main one and 5% or even 50% are at the mall, and that's where we really need to expand. We don't have any numbers like that.
Not the metrics that are being provided to the Library Commission, no. I would have to ask LS&S for separate metrics.
So what are we basing the need for more space? Are we, the services that we are providing, are they overcrowded? Are they unavailable? Is there a long wait list, for services, computers, access, whatever the services that we're providing at these centers? Is it impacted?
Yes, I look at a multitude of things. One, first is equity. Every other district currently has a library except for District 2. Two, these double as cooling centers and heating centers during various parts of the year. They also double or triple as evacuation centers and so forth for OEM. And as we build out the EOC guidelines, we are able to tap into these particular locations for centers where individuals can go and seek shelter during any type of natural event, barring that the center is still open, right, depending on what type of event. But we are looking at utilizing these particular facilities because they're city facilities. Then we look at the actual library services that are being provided to the various age groups of students. You're very young, you're middle-aged, you're adult users, all of those that go through the adult literacy program. And there's other programs that these sites also have for that aren't traditional reading. But what I'm hearing from the representatives from LS&S is that all of our locations are busy. Without getting those specific metrics that I stated, I'm looking at it from a multi-pronged approach, not necessarily just looking at services provided to participants entering a door, but being able to increase our access of facilities for other things.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before we move to public comment, are there any further questions from the council? Okay, seeing none. Thank you once again, Brian, for the presentation. And Madam Clerk, I'll turn back to you. Do we have any requests to speak on this item?
We have 3 requests to speak. Alicia Barrage, followed by William Evans, followed by Bob Palomares.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and all of our city council members and all of our staff. My name is Alicia Barrage, and I am actually the founder and executive director of Rising Stars Business Academy. We've been here now, I can't believe it, but 14 years, actually operating as a 501c3 nonprofit youth leadership development program. We have just recently moved our location into the Moreno Valley Mall. And we are actually located now right across from the library that is in the mall. I know there's going to be some indifferences about, should we have another satellite? Should we not have a satellite? Yes, it costs money and all of that. But what I can only speak, yes, I'm probably a little biased because I work with youth. And Rising Stars is basically built on a one-stop shop. What do I mean by that? We offer everything from life skills, leadership development, mentoring, vocational training, music, construction, and then we have anger management, substance abuse, parenting classes, wellness classes. And since we have moved into the Moreno Valley Mall, by us being across from the library there, it's going to make a difference because I know you would think, well, they're high school students. They should be able to get, from point A to point B if they need to go to this library. But it helps to have libraries in different areas of Moreno Valley because of sometimes of their transportation. Our kids are just still trying to even get from point A to point B. We have free bus passes. That's great to help them. But I look at, well, could they not go to the library that's on Alessandro versus the one that's in the Moreno Valley Mall? What if we weren't in the Moreno Valley Mall? Now, there's no excuse. And as I said before, Rising Stars, we try to be a one-stop shop to take away all the excuses of why our young people cannot continue their education. You cannot put a price on education. And far as with the library, now our English class, they can take time to just go right across the little ramp there, go sit in the library, use their computers, read the books. We don't have a library yet now that we've moved. But what a difference now it can make where they don't have to have an excuse. Well, I can't make it, Miss Alicia, all the way over to Alessandro or on Iris or wherever it is. We're taking those excuses away. So to have another library, I'm in favor of that. I know I'm probably biased, but I am in favor of that because we still help take those excuses away. And where students are, I could say students that live in different parts of the city, hey, maybe they can't get to this one, but if they know there's another library a little bit closer to where they live, then that makes it all that much easier for them to get to. So, I'm in favor. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are William Evans, Bob Palomares, followed by Louise Palomares.
Good evening. I came to just speak on behalf of being in favor of the library being built. I speak for the youth from Moreno Valley. I'm from Moreno Valley, moved here in '97. I was here when the actual the Alessandro location was built. I remember as a child, my mom taking us there, and it was an extreme, like it was like a field trip. That was the only resource she had. We came from impoverished communities. And that was the only resource that she had for me and my siblings to kind of have education for us outside of school. I'm in favor of it. I speak for the youth. I think it's important that we provide the resources, like the previous speaker said, to take away the excuses. You don't want to have a situation where youth are saying, well, I can't get there because of this, and I can't get there because of that. And youth, we have excuses. When I do believe that we need to take away the excuses. I'm definitely in favor of the library. And I'm somebody that comes from this community that was able to make a success of myself outside. And it's only because I felt like I had the resources in the community when I was growing up that I was able to get the information that I needed to become a success in life. So I am in favor of it. I agree with everything that the previous speaker said. I think she was spot on with every part of what she said. You want to take the excuses away from the youth. And I just would hope that everybody that's at least listening or that's in power or in control of a decision like this would put the youth and their future ahead of whatever financial budget needs to be made. Because when you do invest in the youth do come back and invest in the city. I speak to people from here all the time. I'm from here. I invest in the community. The people that I'm around invest in the community that are from here. And when you invest in those kids and you get them excited about being from here, and then you get them something to be proud about when it comes from being from here, they come back and they invest in the community, so whatever money is spent can be made up in that way, if you look at it that way. I think you have to stand behind the youth. That's the future of the city. I think that's the future of the community. And when they get to a certain age, they're going to remember those things, just like I do. So that's all I have to say about it. I'm in favor of it.
The next two speakers are Bob Palomares, followed by Luis Palomares.
I'm in favor of this library. District 2 has none. And I'll tell you the perfect place to put it, right there by that Coffee Espresso where the Dollar Tree's in, used to be the old market. And the reason is because when school lets out, there's heavy student traffic there from Canyon Springs and Sugar Hill. So there it is. You know, that's the perfect spot with that district to have one. So I hope you consider that. And if you ever want to see, you know, maybe down the road we're going to be able to get a huge main library. You know, maybe take down the old one on Alessandro. So if you ever want to see a library, look at the Lewis Library and Technology Center in Fontana on Sierra. You can Google it. It's amazing. Thank you.
The final speaker is Luis Palomares.
Luis Palomares, community activist. You know, satellite, when are we going to, you know, for the time being, it's good. When are we going to get the state-of-the-art library? You know, Iowa, I have a friend in Iowa. It's a little, you know, a little town, not a lot of people, but they got a better library than we got here. That's my fight. When are we going to get the state-of-the-art library? Fontana has one. Iowa has one. Hemet has a better one than we got here. You know, the satellites will do for right now, but we need the state-of-the-art library. And when is it going to come? The city has a lot of land. Put it up. Get a good spot. Maybe in the East End, because that's where you got the land. So we need when. When are we going to do that? That's what we need. As far as, we got 230,000 people here, or 210,000, 20 right in there. We need something. When? This is what I'm asking this council. When? You know, and I've been to these libraries. like you were saying, the staff was saying, well, we use them for this, that, emergencies, all that. They're so small. How many people are you going to be able to put in those things? You know? So I don't know if that was just a throw it out there, but if there's a real state of emergency, we're not going to be able to fit a lot of people in that little mall library or the one over here on Iris, even the big one, you know? So I don't want to hear the state of emergency we're using for that. I don't know where that one came in, but I guess you got to do all the, you know, you got to look at it all. So as far how much money, and I've been to those libraries, I've gone in there, and there's, well, I'm glad that they have it over here for the Stars Academy. That's great. They're getting used now. They're getting used right there because a lot of kids can go there. The parents don't let them. There's a lot of things going on, crime there. But, you know, hey, they're getting it used, and that's great. But I've been in there, not a lot of, and the staff don't even know how to, they're not librarians. You know, I've gone in there and asked for help, and I've gone to the other one on Iris. You got to get them staffed right. There's more staff, 3-4 staff in there sometimes than people. I don't know if it takes that many to run a small library like that, a small satellite. So if you do this, make sure it's staffed with the right people that know all the what's supposed to be happening and have some library experience, librarians, instead of students trying to volunteer. That's good, but under the watch of somebody knows how to run it and do what they're doing. Because it's a lot of money. So we got, okay, say we're going to do another one for right now. Golly, how many more are we going to do? How many more? When are we going to do the right thing and make a big one? And these little ones can, for right now. And then if you got to close one here and there, keep the ones that there's most open. That, like she's saying, that Alicia said they're using the one right there at the mall. I'm so glad. I didn't even know you moved out there. 14 years ago already, Alicia. I remember when I was here talking about Rising Stars. Amazing program. Amazing program. She does the service.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, we will now move into council deliberation if desired. If any council members would like to make any comments, please feel free to hit your speaker button and we'll make sure to call on you. And first up, we have Councilmember Bernard.
I know there's some discussion about the satellites, but I have been to the one on Iris, and it's true, we don't have them in District 2 where they do need them. They do need to be spread out. If you look at other cities that are of this size, they have multiples of them, and you have to have access. And while I understand we don't think of them as emergency centers, when it was 100 degrees outside, the one on Iris is very frequently used as a cooling center. I've had a few meetings there where people literally came in with their kids because they had nowhere else to take them, and they'll sit there and they'll let them color and they read books, and it's a cooling center, and it's a way for a parent to get their kids out. Maybe a parent that doesn't want their child to know, like, we don't have the money to take you anywhere else, but it's a place where they can spend time. Also, there are seniors there. I know the one on Iris has all the fun technology. I've seen people come in there and print. One person was missing the back off of their battery pack, and they did a 3D printer to put for their battery pack so that they could put it right back on their gaming system. So there are multiple uses that come out of this, and we have to think about all the uses, because even as we expand, even as we grow, we need to think about the multiple ways that we can get usage out of buildings and out of services that we offer, whether that's children, seniors, or even just a mom doing toddler time with their child at 11 o'clock on a Monday so that they have something to do. There are a lot of services that these libraries offer that I think that people don't know that they offer. And I remember going into a library and just being lost as a child. I've been a voracious reader since I was 3 years old. And so even to go into the satellite office, the satellite one in Iris, my kids walked in there and they got a library card, and they were running through and checking books. So I think we have to think about that it's more than just how much it's going to cost. Some things in this community are just priceless. And for me, libraries and education and having an access to it, no matter your age or your background, is a priceless thing. And District 2 has been very patiently waiting to get one. And maybe if they had something like that, you wouldn't see some of the things that we've heard are happening with some of the youth out here. And maybe it would help us also with some of the homelessness that everyone's talking about or seeing around here. A lot of the homeless in my half of the city, they do hang out in the library and they're not bothersome, and the staff talks to them all the time. And they say they don't bother anyone. They just sit there. They read books. So I'm very excited for this expansion, and hopefully one day we are able to build a brand new state-of-the-art library. But until that date comes, we need to work with what we have, and this is what we have.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, we have Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, many, many moons ago, I believe you were here. Yeah, you know what I'm going to ask. We had some money for a library, and I know it was millions of dollars. And we decided to build an overpass, and we took the money from the library. Was that money ever replaced? I hate to put you on the spot, but.
Yes, it was, through an agreement with, I believe it was WRCOG. And we have been paid back over time, some $11 million. And I'm not quite sure if they've paid us back the full amount, but very, very close. It would be within this budget cycle in which we would have been made whole. That $11 million was, as it was not earmarked for library based on the agreement with WRCOG. That is the $5.6 million for the first year and second year, and additional pavement rehab that was approved in the budget cycle on May 2nd.
Okay, and the next question I have is it beneficiary to the city to lease buildings for this type of facilities, or is it benefit for the city to own a building?
Well,
when we're talking about libraries that we have.
I mean, it is the most cost-effective way to have an expansion satellite library is for a lease, because the structure is already there. You're not having to build from ground up. It really is just a lease agreement of square footage. Give you an example, and I know the main library has been in place since 1998, but just in implementation, cost, and rehab over time, we've already spent $6 million just in that building. And here, you're able to do a satellite building for anywhere between $500,000 to $2 million based on the amount of tenant improvements you need. So it's definitely the most cost-effective way to utilize the scarce developmental impact fee funds that we have now to get equity within the library services system compared to each council district, and to build a library such as Fontana. We will continue to try and work with developers and so forth, but a $40–50 million library is hard to come by.
I understand that. The mold at the old library, or I think we considered it as the main library, the mold issues that we had there, have those been already upgraded or taken care of?
To my knowledge, the rehab has occurred. I'm not specifically knowledge as far as mold related. We're currently in the current budget cycle. We're working on ADA improvements. They did rehab in past years to take care of other deficiencies with that particular building, and I believe they were taken care of then. We're really working on making the facility more ADA compliant and accessible.
What I'd like to see if maybe we can start getting some funds for a new library through grants, state and federal grants. I think that would help us for whatever money we have right now, or even go off private donations to build a library. As one of the speakers says, a modern, technology, up-to-date library. And I agree with them. We should have something like that for a city this size. We should have a main library, and I'm talking about not the one we have right now. I hate to see putting more money into that facility when we can just put a Band-Aid on it and start saving some money, or again, going through grants and private donations to build a modern one. And with our new Lewis Home projects that we have coming, I'm talking about our town center. I think that would be an ideal to include in that project a main library, because now you're going to have kids, and you have the schools around there, Valley View, you have a couple of elementary schools, but it's going to benefit the whole city because of the town center, where they'll be able to come out, where parents go shopping, and your kids go to the library. So I would like to see something like that in the future, but thank you for your answers.
Well, thank you, and we'll take it all under advisement.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we have Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Yeah, I just want to echo what my colleagues said about the investment in the library system for our youth. When I was going for my degrees, one of the assignments was I had to go to a library. Now, I had a lot of technology accessible to me, but one of the things that I had to do for one of my classes was go to a library, and I did go to the main branch. And I was looking for the Dewey Decimal System, and it wasn't there, but you know what that is, sir? Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Okay. Some of you guys do, but they literally don't have it. But it is an investment in our future. It really is. So I just want to echo what my colleagues said about that. So
thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I don't see any other requests at the moment, but would like to just echo and agree with pretty much all the comments that have been made this evening from our public speakers. Thank you for everyone, all of our residents who came out to speak during public comment. Appreciate your feedback and your perspective, as well as my colleagues. I think I agree with pretty much everything that has been said as far as the benefits and how this would help the community, in particular our youth. And I have that same experience actually growing up in Compton. There were no libraries nearby my house, so I had to wait until a day once in a blue moon where my mom got off on time from work to take me and my two siblings all the way to libraries that were miles away from the house. We had to rely on the transportation because we just couldn't walk to any libraries nearby. So I definitely can relate to, I think Councilmember Bernard said, getting lost in the library, especially as a kid, as a child, your imagination just runs wild. And I vividly remember those memories of going through the library and just having an amazing time, right? And so definitely 100% agree with, making this investment into a satellite library, because that's what works at the moment with the resources that we have at our disposal. And I agree that in the future, we definitely should, it's long overdue, that the city of Moreno Valley have, we'll call it a grand central library, right? We have the main, I'll call it the historic main library on Alessandro and Kitching, but definitely sometime over the next few years, I think we definitely should create and construct a grand central library that, again, just kind of pulling on some points that have been made from the council, it doesn't just have to be restricted to a traditional library with books and computers, right? There probably, and I think this is the best way to do it, is to combine various uses. So you can have the library component along with a senior center type of component, along with a rec center type of component. You could put all those things together. And definitely, I think Councilmember Marquez mentioned it as well, of trying to bring in private dollars, right? Those philanthropy dollars, bringing them in, and maybe having a facility where we have a certain company or a hospital system, that gets a wing of the library named after them or something. These are projects that exist in other parts of California, that I think it's about time that we definitely have that. So that's another conversation to be had, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I definitely agree with everything that has been said already. So I'll leave my comments at that, and thank you to staff for making all this possible as well. Before we entertain any motion, are there any further comments from the council? Okay, I don't see any, so at this time, I will entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations.
I'll motion to approve staff recommendations with the caveat that if the council approves, that we direct our city staff to look in District 2, specifically District 2, to put this satellite library in.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, a second by Councilmember Marquez. Please vote. And that passes unanimously with 5 yeses. Thank you very much to the council for making this happen. And I think every vote tonight was unanimous, which is, it might be a record. I don't know, we'll have to check on that, but a lot of good stuff happening tonight. All right, so we will now move to item I, which is reports from the City Council. And we have a report for the March Joint Powers Commission. I do have a printout here. Do you want to, would you like to give this report? If not, I should.
Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, okay. We have a report for the March Joint Powers Commission from Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I'm providing an update from the March Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on Wednesday, September 27th. We received an economic impact analysis of current JPA development, as well as projections of the economic benefits at full build-out. In addition, we adopted an employee retention policy to retain JPA, or Joint Powers Authority, employees through the sunsetting process. That concludes my update on the last March Joint Powers Commission meeting held on September 27, 2023.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Next, we have a report from the Riverside Transit Agency, and I believe that is Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I got several here. Tonight, I will be providing the updates for the RTA Board of Directors meeting held on September 28th. First of all, it's not in my report here, but I just want to bring it up. Tomorrow, October 4th, I believe it's called Transportation Day. All free rides, whoever rides the RTA tomorrow, there's no charge. And those are only on fixed routes. They're not on the routes that you get on the phone and you know, get a ride to a certain particular place. So tomorrow, it's all rides on the RTA fixed routes are for free. So I want to let the public know that. Leave your car at home. The board has extensive discussion on 4 proposal shelters, and this was it wasn't approved. I'll tell you why. When this proposal was given to RTA, or presented to RTA, this is out in Riverside County. It's not in any city. It's called Mead Valley. They are going to put 4 shelters in 4 locations in Mead Valley. 2 of the locations where they have them now, just the benches, had no ridership for a period of 3-4 months. The county wanted to put a shelter there. The second one and the third one, or the fourth one, only had 3 riderships in that period of time. So here's the county trying to tell RTA, you put the bus stops here because we need them. Well, there was a long discussion among the directors, and we didn't approve of this. It was shot down. We asked the county to go back and resubmit it to RTA. The cost for each shelter with installation was $80,000. So, yeah, the county says do this. Well, it didn't get approved. So I just wanted to bring that out and let you know what occurred on the vote. Also, the Corona Transit Center, there's an elevator there that's been there for many, many years. And a lot of people are saying, well, why do you want to replace the elevator? Well, the parts that we ordered to repair that elevator are no longer available through the vendor. So RTA had to go out and replace the whole elevator system. And that because there's a bridge that goes across an area there that it's on the second floor. So if you hear about them replacing an elevator, you're going to say, why an elevator? RTA. That is why they're replacing this elevator. The parts are obsolete that they have there now. So that concludes my report for RTA. The second one, Mayor, is RCA. RCA Board of Directors met on October 2nd, included a status report on the accusations made by RCA. And these accusations are property that they buy. They go out and property owners sell the property to the county. And for some reason, I don't have the cost here, but I'm going to just go out on a limb and, yeah, I'll go out on a limb. At our meeting, we had some purchases that the county made on some property. The total within the last 3 months of property that the county purchased was well over $46 million. And I don't know, I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but this is taxpayers' money. This is taxpayers' money. And I have to say, our agencies at the county have to stop and think about this. What we're spending the taxpayers' money. And it could be part of it for grants, I understand that. But when you start purchasing property for millions and millions of dollars, it's concerning. So with that, they did acquire additional 1,000 acres in the reserve properties. But that again, that cost is just, it's unbelievable. And that would conclude my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council Member. And I believe that's all the reports that we have for City Council reports this evening. That brings us next to item I2. There is no Employee Association report tonight. I3, the famous City Manager's report. All right, great.
Thank you, Mayor, members, City Council. Just 2 items tonight. So first, I'd like to report another award for the City of Moreno Valley. This is actually from Accelerate 2023. We received the Ultimate Resident Experience, and this is a top honor given to cities. And as you know, the city made a substantial investment into the online permitting format, and that was back in 2016. And during COVID, we actually went completely 100% digital. And what does that mean is that people at home, they could actually submit their plans online. And earlier this year, the state was asking a lot of cities to implement what's called Solar App, which allows a lot of the contractors to submit the solar permit online. And we're actually one of the very first cities to implement that. So we are really awarded this top award by Acela. They were just really impressed with the way how our city was able to incorporate a lot of the digital format, the innovation, and really move really fast to put a lot of these systems on. And the second one is another award. This is the one that I'm very, very proud of. All the awards I'm very proud of, but this one's particularly proud of. This is the Helen Putnam Award. And this is actually given from the League of California City. And this is actually one of the hardest awards to receive for city. We're competing against 430 plus cities in California. And we actually received the Award of Excellence for Youth Engagement. And we won this for a program, several programs. We call it Elevate Mobile, but it's really 5 programs encompassing one. And it started with a College Promise. We're actually the first city to actually implement a College Promise, and now this is the standard for a lot of the community colleges. But when the state changed that format, we actually made it a little bit more different, in which our Moreno Valley residents that are attending Moreno Valley College, we provide them supplemental tuition help and other help so that they could have funds to go to college. The second program we have is a very popular Mobile Learns. This was implemented. We actually was one of the first in the country to have a universal student basic income stipend program, and is able to help 50 students every year attending Moreno Valley College on the second year to help them transfer or get a certificate. We also incorporated a Career Day Academy. This is 4 times a year. We partner up with a lot of the businesses in which they help train and really educate high school students and also college students, get them prepared for potential fields in different fields. We also implemented a apprenticeship program. We're running our 3rd apprenticeship expo This is in partnership with the Moreno Valley College, and it's a fantastic program because not only are Moreno Valley College students able to participate, but also now a lot of high school students are actually buzzed into our city when we have the expo, in which they have firsthand experience on apprenticeship. And finally, of course, the College Corp, we did apply for that. Unfortunately, we did not get direct grant allocation, but we actually work with our college in which some of the fellowship students that they are able to obtain funds for, they were actually employed in our city. So it's really 5 programs encompassed in one, and it's a fantastic win for the city. So I'm very, very proud of this program, and a fantastic team. And thank you for the mayor and council's really support for these type of programs, and thank you for the mayor and also Councilor Baca. We're up there at the League of California City, and I think we were walking a little bit taller because we're really proud of our win. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez and Victoria Baca for helping this.
Thank you. And thank you to staff for making all this happen. Ms. Palomares, please. I know it's a joyous thing, but please let's keep it respectful here. Yeah, hats off to staff. Amazing work that's making all this happen. So, with that, we will now move into the closing comments from the council, and we'll start off with Councilmember Baca Santa Cruz.
I was going to talk about the Howland Putnam. I did want to say that I did attend the California League of California Cities up in Sacramento September 21st through the 23rd. I attended sessions on public safety, minority leadership, the fentanyl crisis, case study on Rialto's homelessness. I met with a lot of vendors and other cities in the expo hall, and it was the highlight of the conference to have the honor of the Helen Putnam awardee winners on all of our badges. We walked around with our heads a little bit higher. We did get recognized in also our neighboring city. Riverside was also one of the award winners, but we did receive our award for our partnerships with education, and so I'm so proud of the programs that our supervisor, Exton Gutierrez, and my mother, Victoria Baca, started with the schools. This partnership that we continue to have has helped our residents in promoting education, which is the most important way out of poverty. So I so proud of the partnerships that we've continued to have with the college and with the school districts. So this achievement is something we apply for, and is actually our second award, and we are competing with 482 cities. So it is something that we should all be super proud of. So thank you so much for all your work. Thank you for everything that you do to apply for the award, so that the rest of the state can see how superb our programs here in Moreno Valley are. So I also attended the women's conference, which I forgot to mention at my the last meeting, but I attended that with Councilmember Bernard, and that was also very inspiring. We had 3 great women speakers who had persevered through unimaginable circumstances to get where they are, and it was very touching and inspiring to hear their stories and to be part of that. So I was honored to attend that. And with that, that would be it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have closing comments from
me,
Councilmember Marquez.
Me. Thank you, Mayor. You know, you don't hear this from a lot of people out there. And I do hear it from a lot of my colleagues from other cities that, how do you guys get these awards? How do you guys do this? How do you guys do that? And what that tells me is, you know what? They want to do what we're doing. And it's not us up here that's doing it. It's these people here are doing it. We're just here to, I don't know, pencil push something? I don't know. But they do all the work here. And I am proud to say, when I talk to my colleagues out there, when they ask me those questions, I tell them, call our staff. Call any one of them, city manager, financial treasurer, development, call them. They'll talk to you. And believe me, they want to do what we're doing. So that shows you how our staff is. And I want to say publicly, from city manager, city attorney, to the city clerk, and your personnel, thank you. I attended the VA job fair last week here. It wasn't done through our Burke system. It was done through the VA hospital in Loma Linda, and it was very well attended. It was very well attended, and I like to see that when other agencies come to Moreno Valley to have these job fairs. It really makes me feel good, especially for the veterans. They deserve help when looking for jobs and stuff like that. So I was very happy to see the employers that were out there hiring. So, and lastly, we're having problems again with trash in this city. We just had spent, how many days, Mike? 2 days cleaning up the trash. We had to send, I don't know how many city crews out there. How many, Melissa, how many crews had to go out to Gilman Spring or Davis Road? How many crews were out there, Melissa?
Yeah, I think there were quite a few people that had to go out and do all that cleanup.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, we can't block the street off, prevent people from driving back there, because it's a public road. But please, if you have trash to dump, it only costs you a couple of pennies to go right up the street at the dump and dump it. Because it costs the city taxpayers a lot of money to clean up this mess. And they're doing it again. And if you know where Davis Road is, it's out by Alessandro and WLC Road. And it's a shame to see that. And when you get residents calling me and saying, look at the mess, and it was. We shouldn't be doing that. And if you see somebody dumping trash on the roadway, take a picture of it, and make sure when you take a picture of it, take a picture of the driver. Because we can't prosecute a vehicle, but we sure can prosecute a driver of that vehicle. So I just want to let the public know, let's keep Moval beautiful. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, we have closing comments from Councilmember Bernard.
I don't have any closing comments tonight.
Thank you. That brings us to closing comments from Mayor Pro Tem Delgado.
That makes it easy for me to follow you this time. Thank you. We're working together on this one. I will be quick. Elena and I attended the city yard for Employee Appreciation Day. I wasn't able to go to the others, but I will tell you those individuals that are taking care of our city. I did see a lot of sidewalk improvements in District 2, specifically in the Sunnymead Ranch. Those guys were on it, and they trimmed not only did they fix the sidewalks that the trees broke up the sidewalk there, they trimmed the trees and dug out the roots that were affecting the sidewalk. So kudos to them. I had my coffee with a councilman up in District 2 last Thursday, and we talked about the donkeys. Obviously, a lot of people in other parts of the city don't deal with the donkeys, but in District 2 we do. We talked about that. We talked about public safety, community enhancement, or code. And all those folks that were represented there were able to answer all those questions excellent for our District 2 community members there, so it was perfect. They also talked about art throughout the city, and that was something that a few people brought up. So it was well attended, almost 22 people. I think it's 22 people there besides city staff. So thank you for you guys coming up and participating in that. We had a special guest there, Jamie Aspicia Sachs from the Riverside County Board of Education, trustee Area 3, and she Mike sent an email regarding the Helena Putnam Award that day, and she came there to announce that we won and how proud that the Riverside County Office of our Board of Education was proud of Moreno Valley, and nobody there knew about it, but she stood up and she mentioned it to everybody, so that was really cool to see. So And the last thing I have is 25 years ago, I started with the department, with the Riverside Sheriff's Department. And the day that they told us that we were going to sign for our particular retirement contract, I had no idea what they were talking about. I really didn't care because I knew it was so far off. I signed it, whatever. Ever since then, 25 years in the making, the light at the tunnel was way down there. The proverbial light at the end of the tunnel for retirement was there. Go through our years, and everybody that was retiring, that was our goal. That was our goal, to get to where this individual, we'd go to a retirement party for a department member, and we looked at that individual with jealousy, envy, and it was our goal. Effective tomorrow is my last day with the Riverside Sheriff's Department. I am retiring after 3 months shy of 25 years, but PERS, it's almost 25 years because we worked extra hours. So I wanted to let you guys know that it's been an amazing career for me. We serve the community. I have been a public servant my entire adult life between the military and the Sheriff's Department. So bittersweet for sure. I beat Lieutenant Voss. I think he was going to retire, and I beat him. So that I take pride in that. But my point to telling you guys this is I'm going to have more time. I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to. I already told the mayor that if he needs me to cover anything for him, I'll be there if I can, of course. A lot of honey-do lists have been established on the fridge, so I will start on that immediately. But tomorrow's my last day, so I do a lot of checkout tomorrow and go qualify and whatnot. So thank you guys for your patience with me with the department stuff and trying to balance the council and department. So effective Thursday is my first day of retirement into the PERS system. So I just want to let you guys know. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I'll keep this pretty short. Just a couple of quick announcements here. I also was able to attend the League of California Cities Conference in Sacramento. As has been stated, the city received the Helen Putnam Award, which is a very big deal. So that was a great time up there. Also, two other things that I want to highlight from the conference. One, I was also sworn in as the vice president for the Latino caucus of the League of California Cities. And next year I'll be the president for the Latino caucus. And I want to give a special shout out to the new president of the entire League of California Cities, Dan Parra. He's the mayor of the city of Fowler. He would say it's the city 10 minutes south of Fresno, as he likes to put it. But I want to give him a special shout out because he's been one of my mentors. He's a fellow colleague on the Latino caucus. He's been working real hard for years, finally has taken the gavel as president of the League of California Cities. So I want to give him his recognition, and hopefully we'll be able to work together in these new capacities for the benefit of our respective communities as well. So just want to congratulate Dan Parra as well. Also was able to attend the Festival Monarcas in the city of Paris with Todek and Luz Gallegos, along with several other elected officials, my fellow Mayor Vargas over in Paris, a few council members, Senator Roth, and many others. That's always a real nice event, and it's the first time that the event took place in about 3 years, I believe. Because of COVID, they had to stop, and so it was really nice just to be able to get that back up and running, and appreciate the invitation to attend that as well. Earlier today, and actually today internationally, is the International Day of the Elderly. Some also say it's National Day or National Senior Citizen Day. So I just want to shout out and recognize all of our seniors, all of our elderly residents who are watching at home. Today is your special day, so appreciate everything that you're doing, and just for giving us, the opportunity to serve in this capacity as well. And a special shout out to Destiny Care Foundation, who hosted a little event for the seniors at the Senior Center earlier today. They're really active in the community, so shout out to Destiny Care Foundation as well. Last week, we, in this chamber, had the swearing-in ceremony for our newest board members and commissioners for the city of Moreno Valley. That was always really nice. Family, friends attended. So I think the entire council also, all of us were in attendance as well. So it's always a really nice thing, something new that we're doing now. Also attended the PAL Center open house that they had this past weekend, and they had an opportunity to just have a little roundtable, bring in some of the youth to give their feedback, let us know what they want to see in the community. And they're also painting a real nice mural on the inside of the building. Once it's done, we'll definitely make sure to share some pictures of that. And lastly, just to close, I've been in conversation with our staff. At the last meeting, I made a motion to add an item to our study session next week regarding a safe parking program for the unhoused that sleep in their vehicles. And just in consultation with staff, would like to make a motion to table that item indefinitely, which means that if approved, to table it indefinitely, we would not have that item on next week's study session. So at this time, I'll make a motion, and I'm seeking a second on that as well.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Do we need a full vote for this, or is that enough? That's enough? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So with that, we will go ahead and conclude and adjourn today's meeting. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will adjourn the meeting at 7:46 p.m. Have a good night.